it is January 29th, and that means it is Wednesday, and this is test number 4. And so now I am on my cycle. But someone did bring up, well, I read that you're only supposed to do it during your follicular phase before ovulation. And I didn't see anywhere in the instructions where it said to do that. And when you think about it, if you haven't had a period for 4 months, when is your follicular phase? You don't know. And so you just take the test whenever. So, but yes, in the follicular phase, your follicle stimulating hormone is rising because it is stimulating follicles to grow. So it will be higher, but the issue is it too high because your brain is, I had an endocrinologist tell me with my FSH level being at a 14, he said, and because of my low ovarian reserve, he was telling me that my brain is screaming at my ovaries to produce follicles. So, you know, and yet my cycles were on the dot, perfect all the time, every single month. And I had not entered, you know, perimenopause. I had a higher FSH than the 10 that is supposed to be normal, 3 to 10 for the blood test. With the blood test, the average is 3 to 10. And, you know, mine was at a 14. So he told me that my brain is screaming at my ovaries. So I might I might try to contact them and ask them if the goal, like I would ask them if a younger person with a normal FSH in between 3 and 10, should they have a completely negative test on this particular test throughout their entire follicular phase. So that would be interesting to ask them, because that's my understanding, is that a younger person with a healthy, normal FSH level should pretty much have a negative test every single time. So that's my understanding. Because, you know, as you get older and your FSH gets higher, then you add the follicular phase to it, and it might bump you up to where you might actually get a positive on here, but you wouldn't have a positive necessarily during the other times of your cycle. So, you know, this was after an ovulation that I still had a positive FSH level on this test. So because I had gotten a positive reading with my progesterone on the Mira, you know, like I said, the weekend before, and it had showed that I had ovulated again, and yet at 9 DPO is when my period started, or 10, it could have been 10 DPO. So I almost made it to 12, but because it was backed up from the last month, my body was ready to let it go. So, and I ran out of Miras, and so I didn't know what my progesterone level had dropped to before my period started, and I am day 3 now. So it's all very interesting, and you know, it's just kind of fun to take a different test. See lines, even though you don't want to see lines with this test, but that's okay, you know. But it's interesting, and so anyway, so here is my test, and I will dip for 20 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 19, 20. And it is running through. And so I will go ahead and go into the app, the Clearblue app, and start the timer for this testing day, and see you back in 5 minutes. The timer went off, but I do want to read this really fast. I have 3 more minutes before it says not to read it, but you know, we know it's going to have a line. So I want to read this really quick. It says the FSH test sticks detect the hormone FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, in urine. A regularly raised level of FSH can be an indication you are approaching or in menopause. So regularly elevated FSH at any time in your cycle, when combined with other factors, that's how it lets you know if you're approaching menopause. Input your FSH results into the app each day to get an indication of your menopause stage. Number 2 says the result of my test is positive. What does this mean? It means your FSH level today is at least a 25 MIU per milliliter. And then it says the result of my test is negative. What does this mean? Your FSH level today is lower than 25 MIU. And then when can I test? So this was a question somebody asked because they said that they read something different. This says you need to take 5 FSH tests, 1 every other day. You should always test with your first urine of the day, which I'm not doing, and I told you why. If testing during your period, so if you're testing during your period, so it means that you can test during your period, but avoid testing on days when you are bleeding heavily, and then the app will tell you when to test. So, you know, once you start it, it'll give you reminders for that next test, you know, to remember to take your test. So you can take it when you are on a period, and you can take it anytime during your cycle, in the follicular phase or in your luteal phase. And again, if you are experiencing perimenopause and all of this, you are most likely starting to have your regular cycles where you're having some time where your periods are super close together, and then other times they will be starting to space themselves out. So if you find yourself on month 4 with no period in sight, you don't know when your follicular phase is, you know. And remember, when you were a younger girl and you were going into puberty, you ovulate first. So there came a time where your hormones kicked in and you started a follicular phase, you know, and then you ovulated for the very first time, and then 2 weeks later you had your very first period. So remember that. So, you know, and like when women have babies, you know, they go 6 months a year with, you know, no period because they haven't ovulated again yet since they gave birth. So they have to have a follicular phase before they ovulate, and then they have their period. And so with this test, you can test at any time because, like I said, a younger person with normal, you know, functioning hormone levels will probably not have any positive tests, except, you know, maybe they would have a positive during their follicular phase. So anyway, let's take a look at my test results. So yeah, that makes, well, 4 minutes past when I was supposed to look at it, but you know, it's going to be positive. So, but it's probably going to be very dark. Oh. Okay. The test goofed up, and I think it's because I didn't have enough urine. But I can see down at the bottom where the line would be, and it pretty much looks like it did 2 days ago. So, but this is definitely positive, but I think I didn't have enough urine in my little jar. So, but I'll show it to you anyway. But there is a line, and it looks like is about as dark as 2 days ago. So anyway, but I'll show that to you. Well, let's see if you can. Whoop! Let's see if you can see down at the bottom. So I kind of probably goofed up the test not having enough urine, but you can see what it would have looked like. So and then I'll put a picture up on the screen here. So yeah, you can see down at the bottom that it was a good solid pink line, or well, not solid, obviously, it's broken. But anyway, but still, it's been kind of fun to take a different type of test and see what it's all about. And, you know, like I said, through blood tests are the best way to really, you know where you are. And also the Mira, of course, has the whole FSH box full of FSH wands, so that you can get a number of what your FSH level is through urine. But it won't be, of course, like the blood test that you get. So if you are really wanting to know what's going on, definitely get the blood test with your fertility clinic. Yeah, so that's it. Test day 4, not quite enough urine. You know, you can see what the result is. You can see down at the bottom a little pink chunk there. So that's it. So I will see you all next time for the 5th and final test. I'll see you next time. Bye.